Udralex Volume 4 Good Manufacturing Practice Guidelines Chapter 5 Production Principle Production operations must follow clearly defined procedure. They must comply with the principles of good manufacturing practice in order to obtain products of the requisite quality and be in accordance with the relevant manufacturing and marketing authorization. General production should be performed and supervised by competent people. All handling of materials and products such as receipt and granting, sampling, storage, labeling, dispensing, processing, packaging, and distribution should be done in accordance with written procedures or instructions and where necessary recorded. All incoming materials should be checked to ensure that the consignment corresponds to the order. Containers should be cleaned where necessary and labeled with the prescribed data. Damage to containers and any other problem which might adversely affect the quality of the material should be investigated, recorded, and reported to the Quality Control Department. Incoming materials and finished products should be physically or administratively quarantined immediately after receipt or processing until they have been released for use or distribution. Intermediate and bulk product purchase as such should be handled on receipt as follow the were starting materials. All materials and products should be stored under the appropriate conditions established by the manufacturer and in an orderly fashion to permit batch segregation and stock rotation. Checks on yields and reconciliation of quantities should be carried out as necessary to ensure that there are no discrepancies outside acceptable limits. Operation on different products should not be carried out simultaneously or consecutively in the same room unless there is no risk of mix-up or cross-contamination. At every stage of processing, products and materials should be protected from microbial and other contamination. When working with dry materials and products, special precaution should be taken to prevent the generation and dissemination of dust. This applies particularly to the handling of highly active or sensitizing materials. At all times during processing, all materials, bulk containers, major items of equipment, and where appropriate rooms used should be labeled or otherwise identified with an indication of the product or material being processed, its strength and batch number. Where applicable, this indication should also mention the stage of production. Labels applied to containers, equipment, or premises should be clear, unambiguous, and in the company's agreed format. It is often helpful, in addition to the wording on the labels, to use colors to indicate the status. For example, granted, accepted, rejected, clean. Checks should be carried out to ensure that pipelines and other pieces of equipment used for the transportation of products from one area to another are connected in a correct manner. Any deviation from instruction or procedure should be avoided as far as possible. If a deviation occurs, it should be approved in written by a competent person with the involvement of the quality control department when appropriate. Access to production premises should be restricted to authorized personnel. Prevention of cross-contamination in production. Normally, the production of non-medicinal products should be avoided in areas and with equipment destined for the production of medicinal products, but where justified could be allowed where the measures to prevent cross-contamination with medicinal products described below and in Chapter 3 can be applied. The production and/or storage of technical presents such as a pesticide, except where these are used for manufacture of medicinal products, and herbicides should not be allowed in area used for the manufacture and/or storage of medicinal products. Contamination of a starting material or of a product by another material or product should be prevented. This risk of accidental cross-contamination resulting from the uncontrolled release of dust, gases, vapors, aerosol, genetic materials or organisms from active substances, other starting materials and products in process, from residue on equipment, and from operators' clothing should be assessed. The significance of this risk varies with the nature of the contaminant and that of the product being contaminated. Products in which cross-contamination is likely to be most significant are those administered by injection and those given over a lifetime. However, contamination of all products poses a risk to patient safety dependent on the nature and extent of contamination. Cross-contamination should be prevented by attention to design of the premises and equipment as described in Chapter 3. This should be supported by attention to process design and implementation of any relevant technical or organization measure, including effective and reproducible cleaning process to control risk of cross-contamination. The outcome of the quality risk management process should be the basis for determining the extent of technical and organizational measures required to control risk for cross-contamination. These could include, but are not limited to, the following: technical measures, dedicated manufacturing facility, self-contained production area, design of manufacturing process, premises, and equipment to minimize opportunity for cross-contamination, closed system, control remove dust close to source of the contaminant, dedication of equipment, dedication of product contact parts, or dedication of selected parts which are harder to clean, use of automatic clean-in-place system of validated effectiveness, separation of equipment, washing, drying, storage area. Organization measures. Dedicating the whole manufacturing facility or a self-contained production area, keeping a specific protective clothing inside area, cleaning verification of cleaning of non-product contact surfaces and monitoring of air within the manufacturing area and or adjoining areas in order to demonstrate effectiveness of control measures, specific measures for waste handling, contaminated rinsing, water and soil gowning, recording of spills, accidental event or deviation from procedure, design of cleaning process for premises and equipment, design of detailed records for cleaning process to ensure completion of cleaning, common general wash areas on a campaign basis, supervision of working behavior to ensure training effectiveness and compliance. Validation studies should reinforce good manufacturing practice and be conducted in accordance with defined procedure. When any new manufacturing formula or a method of separation is adopted, steps should be taken to demonstrate its suitability for routine processing. Significant amendment to the manufacturing process, including any change in equipment or materials which may affect product quality. Process and procedure should undergo periodic critical revalidation. Starting materials, the selection, qualification, approval, and maintenance of suppliers of starting material together with their purchase and acceptance should be documented as part of the pharmaceutical quality system. The quality requirement established by the manufacturer for the starting materials should be discussed and agreed with the suppliers. For the approval and maintenance of suppliers of active substances and excipients, the following is required. Active substances. Supply chain traceability should be established and the associated risks. The supply chain and traceability reports for each active substance. Audit should be carried out at the manufacturers and distributors of active substance to confirm that they comply with the relevant good manufacturing practice. Audits should be of an appropriate duration and scope to ensure that a full and clear assessment of GMP is made. Further audits should be undertaken at intervals defined by the quality risk management process. Excipients. Excipient supplier should be controlled appropriately based on the result of a formalized quality risk assessment. For each delivery of starting material, the containers should be checked for integrity of package, including tamper-evident seal where relevant, and for correspondence between the delivery notes, purchase order, supplier's label, approval manufacturer, and supplier information maintained by the medicinal product manufacturer. Starting material in the storage area should be appropriately labeled. The designated name of the product and the internal code reference where applicable, a batch number given at receipt, where appropriate the status of the content, where appropriate an expiry date or a date beyond which retesting is necessary. Excipient, there should be appropriate procedure or measure to ensure the identity of the content of each container of starting materials. Only starting materials which have been released by the Quality Control Department. Manufacturers of finished products are responsible for the testing of starting materials as described in the Marketing Authorization Dossier. Result from the approval starting material manufacturer but must as a minimum perform identification testing of each batch according to Annex 8. The rationale for the outsourcing of this testing should be justified and documented, and the following requirements should be fulfilled. Special attention should be paid to the distribution controls. The medicinal product manufacturer should perform audits either itself or via third parties. At appropriate interval based on risks at the site, the certificate of analysis provided by the starting material manufacturer supplier should be signed by a designated person. The medicinal product manufacturer should have appropriate experience in dealing with the starting material manufacturer. Medicinal product manufacturers should also perform a full analysis at appropriate intervals based on risk and compare the result with the material manufacturer or supplier's certificate of analysis. Starting material should only be dispensed by designated persons. Each dispensed material and its weight or volume should be independently checked and the check recorded. Materials dispensed for each batch should be kept together and conspicuously labeled as such. Processing options, intermediate and bulk product. Before any processing operation is started, steps should be taken to ensure that the work area and equipment are clean and free from any starting materials, products, product residue, or documents not required for the current operation. Intermediate and bulk products should be kept under appropriate condition. Critical process should be validated. Any necessary process controls and environmental controls should be carried out and recorded. Any significant deviation from the expected yield should be recorded and investigated. Packaging materials. The selection, qualification, approval, and maintenance of suppliers of primary and printed packaging materials shall be accorded attention similar to that given to starting materials. Particular attention should be paid to printed materials. Adequately secure condition. Outdated or obsolete primary packaging materials or printed packaging materials should be destroyed and this disposal recorded. Packaging operation. When setting up a program for the packaging operation, particular attention should be given to minimizing the risk of cross-contamination, mix-up, or substitution. Before packaging operation are begun, steps should be taken to ensure that the work area, packaging lines, printing machine, and other equipment are clean and free from any products, materials, or document previously used. The name and batch number of the product being handled should be displayed at each packaging station or line. All products and packaging materials to be used should be checked on delivery to the packaging department for quantity, identity, and conformity with the packaging instruction. Containers for filling should be clean before filling. Normally, filling and sealing should be followed as quickly as possible by labeling the correct performance of any printing operation. Special care should be taken when using cut label and when overprinting is carried out of line. Check should be made to ensure that any electronic card readers, label, counters, or similar devices are operating correctly. Printed and embossed information on packaging material should be distinct and resistant to fading or erasing. One-line control of the product during packaging should include at least checking the following: general appearance, packages are complete, correct product and packaging material are used, any overprinting is correct, correct functioning of line monitors. Packaging materials products which have been involved in an unusual event should only be reintroduced into the process after a special inspection, investigation, and approval by authorized personnel. Any significant or unusual discrepancy observed during reconciliation of the amount of bulk product and printed packaging materials and the number of units produced should be investigated and satisfied. Thoroughly accounted for before release. Upon completion of a packaging operation, any unused batch code packaging material should be destroyed and the destruction recorded. A document procedure should be followed if uncoded printed materials are returned to stock. Finished products. Finished products should be held in quarantine until their final release under conditions established by the manufacturer. The evaluation of finished products and documentation which is necessary before release of product. After release, finished products should be stored as a usable stock under conditions established by the manufacturer. Rejected, recovered, and returned materials. Rejected materials and products should be clearly marked as such and stored separately in restricted area. The processing of rejected products should be exceptional. The recovery of all or part of earlier batches which conform to required quality by incorporation into a batch of the same product at the defined stage of manufacture should be authorized beforehand. The need for additional testing of any finished product which has been reprocessed or into which a recovered product has been incorporated should be considered by the Quality Control Department. Products returned from the market and which have left the control of manufacture should be destroyed unless without doubt their quality is satisfactory. Product storage due to manufacturing constraint. A manufacturer should report to the marketing authorization holder any constraint in manufacturing operation which may result in abnormal restriction in the supply. Thanks for your attention.